What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV Plus. My name is Jim, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Luke and Kyle. And today we continue our coverage of Apple TV Plus's Murderbot. Today we're covering Season 1, Episode 7, titled Complementary Species. Luke, Kyle, which one of you guys go first? I want to know.
It's got to be
What do
Kyle.
you
We
do?
need
Go.
your quick take on the last episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance for my Murderbot and Labibi forever and ever, KISSING theory.
Sitting in a tree, dude.
Yeah, that was a very fitting way for that to go out. I mean, the show it's moving. Yeah, and it's probably the same type of things we talked about for the entire run of this season, and that it's just this is kind of the reality of how the show is structured, and we just have to adjust our expectations to it, and that we get 20 minutes. Only so much can possibly happen in those 20 minutes. I think that we're at least like there's urgency, though, I think, in all of these past two episodes for sure, which is good to see as we're getting towards the end of the season. I mean, we're 70% of the way done at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about. And while there's still a lot of these questions that we have of what is Murderbot's end goal, what will the relationship be like between it and the squad, the episodes are exploring those questions, which are the ones that we've had kind of from the beginning. So in that sense, I'm totally satisfied. We're getting these. It's going to be, I think, very interesting as we get towards the end of how many answers do we actually get this season. It feels like they're really flirting with giving us some big ones, but they're not quite there yet, which is fine because we still have, 8, 9, 10 left.
I'm surprised that the anomaly has not come back yet, especially because what was that, episode 2 or was that episode 1? I think we talked about it in our first podcast, which was the first 2 episodes, is why I'm probably thinking that. But I will agree that the show is doing a good job of exploring the relationships between the different Preservation Alliance characters to Murderbot, but that's like all it's doing. The fantasy spot, the sci-fi piece of it all is just like a backdrop, and we get spurts of like this plot moving along. But I am like surprised that we haven't gotten more of the plot, which is fine. You got to build these characters up. I'm assuming that these have to be characters that span multiple seasons against that possible theory, Jimmy, where I think you said it, where what if each season is its own Murderbot Diaries book on a different planet with a different group. I feel like at the way we're doing this show, it can't be the case, but that's fine with me, because the surprising thing for this episode, and maybe my favorite part of it, was I assumed when we got a flashback right off the rip of the episode, it was going to be about Mensa and we were going to get something to do with her panic attacks, but I'm still craving that information, but I was pleasantly surprised at the Gura reveals here, where just to set the scene, like it was a month ago, you find out that Gura was actually a spy who was sent from Corporation Rim to spy on Mensa, and he actually, almost in the way that I'm predicting Murderbot's going to become empathetic to the group, he did that first. And that actually kind of really explains almost everything in hindsight when it comes to Gura and why he's been so skeptical of Murderbot, because he was a spy himself. So how easy is it to have Murderbot be a spy for Corporation Rim? So it actually, that connected a lot of things for me, and I really appreciate them doing that. I'm shocked we still didn't get more on Mensa yet. But before I go deeper, I'll throw it over to you, Jimmy.
You very perfectly said what I'm thinking about the characters. I want to be very careful with what I'm about to say, because I'm enjoying this show, and I watched this episode and I kind of basically was like, what did I just watch? What just happened, right? I think you explained perfectly why this episode was worth it and why this episode was good, because we are getting the character development, the character relationships. And as fast as the pace is for 20-minute episodes, it's also like weirdly slow on the storyline, where it's just like, what the hell just happened? They just had two monsters banging on top of the hopper, and then another sec unit shows up, dies right away, still don't know what the hell's going on. Next episode. I really think, and we say this every episode, this is a great binge show, because as much as I'm saying, like, what the hell did I just watch? I'm very much so watching it being like, I just want to freaking know what the answers are here. Like, I want to know what's going to happen whenever Murderbot goes to check the perimeter, and whenever it's standing there and you see the security alert start to light up, I'm like, is this it? Like, are we going to get some answers now? Are the big bads coming? And it's not me being frustrated. It's me being curious, which is good. But it is just, the 20-minute episodes are very weird for week to week. And the characters definitely made it worth it. And I very, very much hope so. I really hope that they are included in future seasons, because it would be almost not worth it at all if they're not.
The nature of the show being so short and us loving Apple and everything they do and Alexander Skarsgård, all that's good. We haven't really thrown too many criticisms besides the shortened length of these episodes. I'll say that for the first time, I was kind of giving a thumbs down to BW as a character here in this episode. I feel like she had a weaker episode. I also hate how, like, she's prioritizing being empathetic to dead Labibi over the sec unit making the right decision to keep their safety. I get that Preservation Alliance is like a life over everything, like the hippie vibe and all that. But like, at some level, it kind of frustrated me the way that BW was acting this episode. But that's like the smallest nitpick, and that's pretty much all you can do in 20-minute episodes, is find like little things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. I mean, Murderbot is very frustrated as well.
Yeah,
It doesn't understand what the hell they're thinking, and it basically thinks they're idiots, because it's not just really BW, it's all of them. You know, I think it's Mensa that has the line that's like, yeah, we don't like the death, you know, like we're not okay with the killing. We just need to know that you're cool with us. You're here to be a part of the team. And you know, Roddy basically, you know, said thank you, and some of them are kind of, and I've talked about this sick. Like, there's definitely parts that I was laughing at in this episode, but we talked about it, me and Luke, in the last episode. Kyle, we missed you, with the different levels of this personality trait of the entire team, right? You have BW at the pretty much the very top, and then you have Gur at the very bottom, and then you have, you know, and it's different levels for each one. And I feel like anyone that's towards the top is pretty frustrating, especially if you're a homie with Seki. And this is very much so highlighted in this episode, because they're all freaked out. They all think he did the worst thing possible, which, yes, I mean, he killed somebody, but at the same time, like you're saying, logically, he saved lives. He saved all their lives. And he, as a logical being, is only really thinking about it in that way. It was like, sorry, Kyle, I saw your face. It, as a logical being, thinking about it only in that way, thought Gur was in danger. The group was in danger. I blew Labibi's head off. Why the hell are they not saying thank you very much?
I thought it was really funny that a lot of this episode was really, maybe, I don't want to say throwing maybe water on the fire of what we had kind of been talking about a lot of the season of, it's so interesting to see how Murderbot could maybe fit into this group if its goal isn't to just fuck off and watch TV forever until it runs out of storage space. Could it be something yeah, exactly, that joins this group? Will the group accept it? And it felt like we were kind of maybe moving towards it, like up until, I guess, the end of last episode of,
yeah,
it could kind of fit in. You know, it would be a little weird, and they would have to work through some of the social awkwardness. And this episode seemed to maybe throw a little water on that, of because of what he did, or I'm sorry, because of what it did at the end of last episode. There's not a great vibe at the moment. But then at the end, when it kind of comes to this conclusion of, it's been frustrated with them, it's been frustrated with them, it's been frustrated with them, and then they all kind of fight together.
Yeah.
And it's kind of endearing that they're all fighting together. And then I love that the stray rock that hits him is because BW threw it. She was trying. She just happens to hit him.
They're trying to help. It didn't help.
It just clogs it right in the head.
Well, what's his name? Oh, it was a sick moment. I guess this wasn't them helping, but when the sec unit threw the knife or something at Roddy and then Murderbot turned and like saved him, that was a cool moment. Like, it's so well done. It's just there's not enough for us to dig into, so we're kind of just picking at what we got, you know.
It seems like Murderbot could be learning more. In this episode, it felt like potentially a lesson is humans, they're just not logical, and at some level it's frustrating, but it can also be endearing, and that we can be hypocrites. We can feel one way and then a different way in a moment. You know, we can not like something that you did, but then also support you in the next millisecond in a different situation, you know, and is part of this season and everything maybe that this is about is an exploration of what it actually means to be human. You know, Murderbot comes at everything from this logical coding programming, and we're just getting almost each episode is a different situation in which if it was a human, it wouldn't really act so much the way that it does. And it's kind of just an exploration of, okay, it acts this way in this situation. What does that mean then for its relationships with the others? And that's totally a fine thing. It's just, you know, this is just a show now that I'll watch on the bike at the gym, you know, while Foundation, let's say, is something that I'm like sitting on my couch, subtitles on.
Yeah.
I'm in it,
Well said.
you know,
Well said.
and that's fine. I mean, you know, you need those different types of shows, and I do laugh, and I think I'm really interested to get to, and Jimmy, you touched this too, of a kind of a discussion of when we get to the finale discussion, and that'll feel like maybe we can have the most like open, honest conversation about everything.
Right.
Yeah, and to
all right,
your
guys,
point,
that's
Kyle,
gonna do it.
Yeah, all right, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah, and to your point, Kyle, I do think the group would accept it if it would just throw them a bone, but it doesn't want to, right? The group Mensa is like, come on, show us your right, exactly. Show us your face, join the circle. And it's like, dude, I really don't care. I did what I was supposed to do. I did the right thing. Shut the hell up. Right. And I think that that's the evolution we'll get eventually. We have moments where, like you said, Luke, they're trying to help it and it says, oh, it was stupid. But, you know, in a way, I'm appreciative. Like things like that. Something else that I wanted to bring up here is we have these two monster things that are animals. You know, we want to make
double
sure
centipedes.
Yeah, our Preservation Alliance homies do, you know, like they said, BW said in the early episodes about the monsters, it was an animal, but they're doing the thing on top of the hopper. They're not actually fighting. They lay eggs, they whatever. There's some offspring ready to hatch or whatever you want to say on the hopper. And all of a sudden, this sec unit shows up, this rogue sec unit shows up. It doesn't seem to really be, again, attacking the Preservation Alliance people. Does it still have the same idea, mission to make Sec, my boy Sec, to become the rogue and kill them itself? I don't know. But what it also did was it attacked the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And it started smashing at them. And then the monster came up. The creature came up and protected the remaining and bit it in half.
Are you saying that was purposeful to attack the eggs? Because I read it as completely accidental.
I think it was accidental. Yeah, I think he got like hit into it and he was like almost like stuck. So he just ripped it out and destroyed it, which then caused the animals to attack.
Okay, I thought it was trying to purposely just like smash at it.
No.
Okay, well then I guess never mind. So again,
But
this is
I
where I'm
do
getting
agree
at.
that he was targeting Murderbot and he wasn't caring to actually attack the people until they attacked him, I guess, which is what happened with Roddy, right?
Yeah, yeah. So either way, this is getting back to my point. This is a great binge show. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to characters, but plot development here, what really happened? They ran away. A sec unit showed up. It died. The end. We still don't really know much.
So, like, actual plot points to hang on to for next episode. Well, obviously, Labibi shot Gura in the leg, so he's now feverish and he's dying, which is causing them to go back to the habitat to get to the med bay. Put a pin in that. That's going to be our next episode. Obviously, if the rogue sec unit was able to find them out here away from the habitat, there's going to be a million back at the actual habitat. So that's
Right.
going to be what next episode is. But two things I just wanted to call out that I noticed. Well, one, it sounds like we now have a time limit of when Preservation Alliance is going to get
Right.
rescued by the company, which is about a month until their convoy ship can get to the surface and save them. That kind of gives us a timeline of what I'm assuming the next 3 episodes are going to be. Even though we've been going like day by day, maybe it doesn't even last that long. Who knows? But the other thing I wanted to bring up was that Gura was like jealous of Murderbot, thinking that Mensa was like flirting with him. So like if we didn't already have a confirmation that Gura's like in love with Mensa, it's so reinforced this episode. And that's totally in character, I think.
Yeah, it seemed
Yeah,
like
and
that was what was going to be his maybe bitter.
Yes, exactly.
We had
That's exactly
BW's
what I was
bitter
gonna
being
say.
that it was unrequited love with Pin Lee.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
seemed like he could have followed that up with that's him with Mensa, but he wasn't actually going to say that. So then he kind of pivoted into what he actually talks to her about. That's going to have to come to the surface and it's going to blow up. I mean, we've had some funny moments with Murderbot and Gura and the Mensa thing. But again, another thing this episode that maybe we've learned that's getting introduced that could be a vehicle for Murderbot to continue to explore itself of we can talk about this.
We can talk about this. Let's talk it out.
And
let's talk it out. Let's hug it out.
I'm sorry. Murderbot has a nonstop internal monologue. I mean, that's half of the dialogue of the show is it talking to itself about things. It's not like it's just dead air and then commands. So it could be interesting to actually get it talking.
Yeah, and some of the non-major storyline stuff that was funny / just something I wanted to bring up is the sassiness of Murderbot being frustrated, right? When Roddy goes over, sec, and he's saying to Murderbot, like, you had pretty good aim, right? And basically saying, like, you could have got Gura, but you didn't. And he's like, trust me, if I wanted to kill Gura, I would have killed Gura. And then just like there's a lot of other sassy comments that I really thought were hilarious coming out of Murderbot. And with the Gura stuff, I do think too that pretty much in that flashback when he was saying I'm naive, he was kind of confirming even right then his feelings for Mensa to her.
Yeah.
Without saying it. And yeah, the whole do you have feelings for Murderbot and her saying, "Oh, you're really out of it right now." We'll see where that leads. Like you said, Kyle, I do have a feeling it's got to lead somewhere. I mean, Luke, give me your feelings now. We're pretty much already almost done the episode. What is your feeling on Gura? You were saying to start the season you thought he was going to be the homie and you were going to like him a lot. What are your thoughts on him at this point?
I still think that's the path, but now it's the context of that flashback and all around the idea that he was a spy that literally changed his whole way of life because he met Mensa. Like that just makes everything kind of click, and you realize why he's being such a hard ass. So I still think he's going to come around after Murderbot saves the day. Like I'm still fully of the mindset nobody's going to die in Preservation Alliance. Murderbot's going to save the day, and they're going to be trusted in a group going into season 2. Like that's how I see season 1 ending.
Yeah, and as a group, Murderbot is Murderbot. They know the governor module is hacked. They know that it can do whatever it wants. Murderbot's speaking with its actions. They're nervous. but Murderbot has not shown at all, except even when it was hacked with the combat override.
Yeah. He's like, I
It
could
still
kill you all
decided
right now.
to
He's like, but
right.
I'm
It still
choosing not
decided
to.
to kill
So.
itself over hurting them. And while they don't like death, which would be hilarious if it ever said, if there's a moment when they're like, all right, you're part of the group now. What should we call you? And he's like, oh, I've been calling myself Murderbot. He's like, oh
That's a
shit.
good
So,
Yeah.
but this was a good episode for it speaking with its actions. It saved them for the 1,000th time. Was the centipede the same creature from the early episodes?
Yeah, we've seen multiple of them too. Like even
Exactly.
by the
So
anomaly too.
my thought was that it was protecting an anomaly, and then that's why I was a little frustrated when you see it, and I'm like, okay, plot progression, and then instead it's just like, here's the bangity bang on the hopper, and
Yeah,
then I
no, I
was
think it's
hoping,
different.
and I was probably grasping for straws with the eggs because I just want it to mean something, but doesn't seem like it. So we'll see.
All right, I got
Otherwise,
two
okay,
things. Yeah, two quick things. One was how
yeah,
did that
baby.
happen? Was this the first episode we didn't have Sanctuary Moon referenced or shown?
Definitely not shown, but probably referenced, I would say,
That's interesting.
because
Yeah. Okay.
and Kyle, you brought this up, basically still saying meaning Murderbot, would maybe I should just watch my shows until my battery runs out. And they showed us literally the scene of what would happen. It's just like, hey, it wouldn't be that bad.
no,
Just watch my shows and blend in with the trees and just become part of the world, and that's it.
that was a good answer for something we were wondering because I think that is pretty explicit about it. But my last thing I just wanted to ask you guys is a pulse check through 7 episodes. We got 3 more, excluding Murderbot. Is your favorite character? Is everybody's favorite character Roddy, or is that just me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just checking. Maybe, yeah, maybe that'll
I like
change.
Mensa a lot. I like Mensa.
I like
Right.
Lee.
Yeah, I mean they all have qualities, where they're interesting, and I like to watch them. But I would say Roddy, then probably Mensa. Guro's
Roddy's just the
definitely
funniest
very.
character.
Would you say it again?
Roddy's just the funniest character.
Yeah. I mean, most interesting isn't Roddy. Most interesting to me would be Guro or Mensa, most likely.
Yeah.
But Roddy
I think
makes me laugh.
I think that'll do it, right?
All right, guys, we're doing our best to stay under the amount of time the episode is for Murderbot, and it looks like we didn't do it. I think this was 22 episodes or 22 minutes for this latest episode, but we're okay. We're close enough, and we'll see. I don't know. When did we start, Luke? What was the number?
2 minutes, maybe not even.
So whatever. Anyway, we'll cut all that. But anyway, like we've been saying, please hit that subscribe button if you are a huge fan of Apple TV Plus and like our coverage. If you're a huge sci-fi fan and you have not checked out Foundation, please do so. For whatever reason, it was a little bit of a blind spot for Bingetown TV / The Core. Me and Kyle had never seen it before. Luke had been praising it to us, so we finally decided it is time. Me and Kyle are watching it for the first time. We've got season 1 already completed. We're on our way, almost midway through season 2, and we'll be leading right up to season 3 on July 11th. Luke will finally be able to give his theories. He will be a blank slate just like us. So we cannot wait for that. We'll be covering that week to week. So please hit that subscribe button. And again, if you haven't seen it, give it a shot and follow our coverage. Like I said in the intro, we have the Binge Empire podcast covering everything not Apple TV Plus. The Last of Us just ended. The Wheel of Time, hurting my heart, just ended. But we also have we also have Squid Game season 3. We have Dexter Resurrection. We have Alien Earth, Wednesday, Stranger Things, so many things coming on Binge Empire. So check that out. And again, we also have the Bingetown TV podcast where we have any combination of the 7 of us jump on a pod and have a fun conversation about TV and movies. All those links will be in the description. Once again, we are the Core Podcast. We'll see you next week for Murderbot, and hopefully you join us for Foundation. Thank you so much for listening.